Hi, everybody. It's the Week in the Tackle podcast, the podcast where we get together on a semi-weekly basis and tackle things that we think are interesting. I am Tom Rennie, radio personality and commentator extraordinaire. Thought you'd enjoy that. No Brian Dunseth today. He is on his holidays, off camping with the kids. Have a wonderful time. Dunny and various miniature, well, actually the giant Dunseths now, but younger Dunseths. Have a wonderful time. Dunny will be back next week, but I'll be off next week because I'm taking a 2-year-old to essentially Butlins by the Sea. No disrespect to Butlins, but I'd rather not go to Butlins. But anyway, I am here today, and alongside me is legendary producer, Liverpool fan, and a man whose hair remains boyish and charming, despite the fact he's getting so old now. He went to a bridal shower this weekend. It's Tim Horsey. Hey, Tim, you all right?
Just so old, Tom. Like the life events are coming up that I'm like, I didn't think this was ever going to happen to me, and now they are coming. Yeah, I was at a bridal shower this weekend for my lovely wife to be, Carly, and yeah, we're getting close to that date too. That's 6 weeks away now. So sweating through all that, and yeah, like you said, just getting older and older and older as time goes.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked together for maybe 7 years, 6 years, something like that.
About that.
I used to think of you as like a young man. You know, I was a young man when we sort of met. I think I was around about 30 or something like that, a little bit older. But like, oh, he's a young man. Now I look at you and I see us as like the same generation, you know?
Well, especially now that we work with other members of our team on Sirius XMFC who, they're born in like 2000, which makes me want to puke. So now Tom and I are kind of the old heads of FC while we deal with learning phrases that I've never heard before. I can't even pull one out, but you have a couple of things where Tom and I look at each other and then we look at our assistant producers, whoever it is on that day, and just go, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
I knew I was getting old when people started using the word vibes, but then vibes became aura and I didn't notice. That's generational shift. So right. What did we have before vibes? Just like feels, maybe? It became
feels was there.
Vibes, and then aura is where we are now.
Do you have aura? Do you think you have aura, Tom?
I don't know if I want aura. It's like when in like the 80s or early 90s when people start using the word sick. Do I want to be sick? There's no way. Sick keeps going round and round. It's good again now, I think. I don't know. Anyway, enough of that. Listen, no Dunny this week. So what we thought we'd do is cover a bunch of top stories with Tim sort of hosting the program and me sort of doing the analysis, Dunny style, on the program. So, Tim, what do we got?
Well, don't say "by the way" too many times, and then we're going to try and refrain from as many cuss words as possible because Tim doesn't feel like editing this program very much. But yeah, I have a couple topics from the Premier League weekend for Tom before he goes off on holiday. And no, I'm not starting with Liverpool because they are my team. I'm starting with Liverpool because I think they're kind of the most interesting story here coming out of the Premier League weekend. We'll get to the Manchester Derby. That sucked, so I don't want to start there. Liverpool losing 3-2 to Fulham. Shout out Jack Collins. I'm sure he's going to brag about it throughout the week here on Sirius XMFC, on our show, the football show that we do there. And I have just a question for you, Tom, because I think you kind of are the same way with me. Even as a Liverpool fan, obviously champions elect, they are going to win the league, as much as I hate saying it out loud. But it kind of feels unremarkable. Maybe for me personally, it's because it's not the swashbuckling style of Jurgen Klopp and all the antics on the sideline. My favorite ever player, Roberto Firmino, with Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, that legendary front three, and all the magical moments you had, obviously kind of getting cut short by COVID there in their last Premier League title. But is this Liverpool team unremarkable to you, or am I just being a spoiled winner?
Before we do that, Tim, I want you to say sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Tom.
There you go. I just wanted to make sure you had some editing to do. I'll do no further swearing on today's program, I promise. Look, I think it's a really good question. And I think it's something that we are going to see the proof of across this summer. Like I read a piece before I came to you from Virgil van Dijk talking about progress being made in his new contract. But like the first half of the season, I think there are some brilliant performances and there are some amazing Mo Salah numbers. And I think Ryan Gravenberch was incredible first half of the season. I think one or two others were brilliant. Jota before he got injured again. I think Gakpo in the cup has been fantastic. Alexis McAllister, probably the most consistent player Liverpool have had all season.
Yeah.
But I think there has been a change in the second half of the campaign and certainly a big shift since the game against Paris Saint-Germain where, look, they were massively outplayed in Paris. Hugely, right? Paris were fantastic and should have won that game convincingly. Never mind, lost it before the return leg at Anfield, winning on penalties and all of that. I was at the Carabao Cup, as you know. We did a show on that a couple of weeks ago. Newcastle were the better team throughout in every sphere of the field, defensively, offensively. They won the midfield battle with ease, really. And Nick Pope didn't really have a significant save to make in the game. So something's gone slightly off. And the fact they didn't really invest massively through Arne Slot last summer means this summer's going to be really interesting. And a lot of Liverpool people we talk to, Tim, they always talk about like it's a catastrophe of sorts that they would lose Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, and Salah in the same summer. And I'm just looking at this now, thinking, yes, I take the point on it being maybe financially catastrophic, and in terms of long-term planning, you can't buy 3 huge players in the same summer. But Alexander-Arnold's going. Sidebar, I don't really understand any negativity towards Alexander-Arnold at all from any Liverpool fan. Don't get it, don't understand it. He's not going to a big sort of rival. He's going to play for Real Madrid, having won everything he could possibly win at Liverpool over a 15-year sort of lifespan and 10-year career or whatever. So, like, no, I'm sorry. If you are criticizing Alexander-Arnold for going to Real Madrid, there is something wrong with you. Like there's something just inside you that's wrong. So sorry, there is. Get over yourself. He could have signed a new contract and got us some money. F off. Sorry, Tim. Last one.
I don't believe you.
Yes, well, try. But like the other ones, like Salah's numbers up until February are incredible. They're incredible. They've dropped off hugely. He was anonymous in the Carabao Cup final. He wasn't really in the game in the 2 against Paris Saint-Germain. To keep up the way he played up until February, all season long, nobody does it. The best player you can think of doesn't do that, right? So it's to be expected. But now you're thinking, another 2-year contract on the sort of money he's going to want, taking him to the age of 30, 35? I think there's something worth thinking about there for Arne Slot. Whether he could possibly get anyone into play in that position, whether they've got anyone in mind, right? It's not just a case of keep him or drop him, right? There's a lot more to it. I get that. But like, certainly I don't see it as a 100% thing. And the other bit, and you saw it again this weekend, Virgil van Dijk.
Yep.
Virgil van Dijk has been imperiously good during his time in England. Maybe the best centre-half we've seen. Certainly the best, for my money, since Vidic. Before that, you're going back into, the 90s and pick your best defender from that great era of centre-halves. Where brilliant centre-halves couldn't even play for England. Like Gary Pallister barely got a cap and he was great, right? Same with sort of Steve Bruce, who was brilliant in that era because they had so many others. And then after that, Terry Carragher, whatever, that's just England, right? But like, he has been so good. You watch him now. I read this great stat about Max Kilman at West Ham, who I'm not a fan of, as you know. Good footballer, bad defender.
Yeah.
40. I mean, I'd take him for 5. 40, you're insane. I think everyone has been sacked, but whoever did that should have got sacked. But there was some stat, and it was some fan defending Kilman to me, and it was like he never gets run past. According to Opta, he is the best defender for not being run past in the Premier League, and it's because he backs off 40 yards and don't tackle anybody. Like, I'm the best person in the world for not drinking gin. Because I never had to avoid it because I wouldn't touch it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And Van Dijk, he backs and backs and backs and backs and backs. That's an issue. It's a growing issue. It means the defensive line is really deep and there's a lack of cover there. I've never liked Konate, as you know, alongside him. That drag back turn he attempted in the penalty area. I'd love to have seen him play next to Franco Baresi, just to get him up against the wall and ask him, who do you think you are? Where do you think you are? What do you think this is?
Right.
But I think Van Dijk being the best made Konate look better. Happens to all partnerships, right? That's why you and I work so well, Tim, right? You're the Konate to my Van Dijk.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yes, you're more like the Connor Bradley to my Simicast.
There we go.
Yeah, let's go with that. I got there. I stretched. But like Konate has notably got worse because I think Van Dijk has got worse. And in the Fulham game the weekend, elbowed someone in the head. That's a red card. Shouldn't have got away with that. And the penalty after Konate's weird drag back turn, that should have been a penalty. Like, I cannot understand how that's not a penalty. It's an assault. It's like you have the NFL. It's like a rush or whatever. Like, he rushed him. Like, does that work? Kind of worked.
We'll call it blitz, rush. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Fucking ran into him. Sorry, Tim. So you can't do that in football. It's not part of the sport. You can't do it. He just charged into him, arms up, like he was giving him a JBL clothesline from hell. That's a wrestling reference. He was Bradshaw when I watched it, but whatever. That's a problem. There's going to be big investment this summer, and they are going to be champions. But I think there's 2 things. Number one, there's going to be a huge summer at Liverpool. Number two is there has been no challenge. And I just wonder if there had been, if Arsenal had done the sensible thing and bought Gyökeres, Isak, whomever last summer, even Evan Nilsson down at Bournemouth, even Niclas Fullkrug, if he could have stayed fit, like someone who can actually play striker, they would have won games like Everton this weekend. Mikel Merino with blood dripping down his face, still trying to play central forward. Keep me in, coach. Like, ridiculous. If they'd have done that or City didn't implode, this Liverpool team could wobble. The fact, it's West Ham the weekend and there is no pressure coming from below means they're going to get over the line. Great champions to February to May. Tim, I would say your team are bang average, really.
Yeah, if not a little bit worse. And I know I'm being pessimistic here, but I also think you're just sitting here saying it's going to be a big summer for Liverpool. They're going to bring people in. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen. And I hate there was people online and people that we deal with as fans when we do the show here on Week of the Tackle and then Sirius XMFC, that as Liverpool's marching towards the title, the first one in 30 years, they're immediately looking towards next season and being like, well, the investment's not going to come, but look what happens, and then the team finishes whatever they did, 5th or 6th the following season. I can't exactly remember. And they're like, see, I told you. And it's like, well, then you didn't enjoy the moment. You didn't enjoy the good thing. Now you're just looking for the bad thing. And I hate to rag on those people and then do this. I am a bit worried about next season because I've kind of just assumed Salah was going. And that's kind of fine. Tom, I'm with you. He has struggled massively since the record-setting numbers to start the year. And Van Dijk, who knows? Obviously, we could be sitting here next season and being like, they should have let him go. Like, why did they keep him on for this massive number? I do worry a little bit because remember, there was no business done in the summer when Slot came in. He wanted to kind of see what he had, and it obviously worked out tremendously. I have a bit of a worry that we're sitting here at this point next year and being like, are we sure about Arne Slot? Was it not just he adopted this team that went on this remarkable run? And I this is me being a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, being a little bit pessimistic, I understand. But I think and we all know how this industry works and how quickly guys can go from top of the mountain to bottom of the hill. I just worry about that, but we'll park that for another day. But just something to, when they finally just get over the line, limp over the line, fall over that line to win the title, then maybe we start having those conversations when we get into next season. Let's turn to another topic here. The game that was supposed to be billed as the game of the weekend was horrendous. Manchester United, Manchester City, it finishes 0-0. We don't have to talk about the game because it sucked. I mean, if you have any thoughts on the game, Tom, great, go for it. For me, I'm just curious, your opinion, and this is very the radio producer in me, but who's had a worse season when you look at expectations? Like, Dunny's here, so we make fun of Manchester United all the time, and Ruben Amorim, and is he the guy, is he not, whatever. He's got to bring his players in, if you hear from Danny Higginbottom every Tuesday on the football show. But has it been worse for Man City, who have, as we've talked about over and over and over again during the season, completely fallen off the map?
Well, I think the first thing, just briefly on the game, it was a lovely sunny day in England on Sunday, and I wasn't at work, and so I thought I won't watch the 2 o'clocks, but I'll put on the 4:30. It's the Manchester derby. I'll go in the front room, get away from the kids in the garden, and watch the game. And I got to 60 minutes, and I was like, why am I doing this with my life? Nothing's happening. There isn't going to be a goal in this game, and it was evident nobody cared. Right. That might be too strong, but there was nothing on the line. And if nothing's on the line, a lot of football will peter out like this. And I think with this particular Premier League season, you're going to get a lot of this now. I mean, I've covered this league for 10, 12 years. I've never really seen a season like this where so many teams have got nothing to play for. We're down to 4 teams with something to play for now for the rest of the season, which is weird. So, you can sort of see that from this game. But I think it all depends on if Man United win the Europa League. If Man United win the Europa League, then this has been a great season. It's been a great season because they would have won a 3rd trophy in 3 years. You wouldn't know that from all the whinging. But they've also got the manager that they want. They've also got back in the Champions League. If they're not in the Champions League, that lack of Champions League money would be catastrophic in terms of what Amorim wants to do with overhauling this squad. It gives him Champions League money, massive profile, trophy in his first season. Fantastic. It's all there. And no one's going to care if you came 13th or 15th or lost at home to Palace or Fulham or what have you. It isn't going to be a topic of conversation because they won the Europa League. And there's great success in that. And there's something to really, really build on. And just imagine how cocky they're all going to be when they've done that. And Bruno Fernandes lifting the trophy and blah, blah, blah. If they don't win that competition, and there's no guarantee they will, really good teams left in that, and of course Tottenham as well. But really good teams left in that competition as we record this. And I think the team at the weekend was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. Like that we do it a lot with Dunny, and I genuinely can't quite understand like why they keep on doing this formation. Like if no one's going to stay and he wants nobody to stay, why do you keep on doing it?
Right.
Like Maguire playing, Mazraoui playing, Yoro will probably stay, Ugarte will probably stay. Rest of the midfield will go. He doesn't like Garnacho. He doesn't want Højlund, and there's no real position for Bruno Fernandes. This is why we had the conversation a couple of weeks ago that pissed off Higginbottom. But like in terms of sellable assets, the one they've got is Fernandes. If he wants to make 5 or 6 changes, not in the Champions League, got to raise the money somehow to make those trades. Yeah. Everyone else is a payoff. Casemiro is a payoff. Maguire is a payoff. I suppose you could say Dorgu, but I've not been particularly convinced on him yet in terms of players that will be there next year. But like, can they make wholesale changes without being in the Champions League? No. If they don't win the Champions League, I think it's been their biggest failure in 30 years. In terms of City, I just think that like the era of the robot at the moment feels like it's over. He's got to bring in a new generation of robots to try and do exactly what he wants. The legends that he called them have all really fallen off the cliff, like creme fraiche left out of the fridge. Like they've gone from used on your chili to unusable overnight. And he's got to get rid of a lot of them. De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Kovacic was the 4-man midfield. All got to go this summer. And you build around Marmoush, maybe Foden and 1 or 2 others, Haaland. But beyond that, there's 6 or 7 that need to come in. They've already spent huge money. They'll be in the Champions League. They'll make top 5. They'll find a way to do it. But I think in terms of expectation, I still think Man City have had a slightly better season if they finish in the top 5. If Man U win a trophy, I'd pip it for them. But you're looking at 6 out of 10 and 5 out of 10 in the best case scenario.
And for United, just the Europa League resumes this week as you're listening to this. If you're listening on time, thank you very much. They play Lyon in the Europa League's next round. Then they face one of Rangers or Athletic Bilbao, Athletic Club. Sorry, Spanish fans. And then in the final, they would potentially face one of Tottenham, Frankfurt, or Lazio. And apologies to Bodo Glimt fans, but I'm not going to add them in there either. Two
teams, Tim. 2 teams. Bodo and Glimt, 2 towns coming together. It's a joke.
22-11 in that game. Lazio has no chance. Bet on Bodo now.
What about Glimt, though? What about Glimt?
I don't rate Glimt. Bodo, much better.
Bodo first half, Glimt second.
The fresh legs, too? Man, that would be tough. Anyway, moving on swiftly from these terrible dad jokes. See, we are getting older. You can just tell by the amount of content that we have here. Something that broke in the morning as we were doing our morning show on Monday was Ivan Juric is leaving Southampton now. They have been officially relegated. They're on 10 points. They're not going to get to 11, it looks like, which is the Premier League record for worst ever finish by Derby County. Tom, why the hell did he leave right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Why is he even there is another good question. Yeah. He is the 9th shortest managerial reign in Premier League history, which was a trivia question for us a couple of weeks ago. So I think that knocks out maybe Bob Bradley or Tony Adams or someone like that from the top 10 list, something like that. Yeah. 107 days, 1 victory, which was the 2-1 win at Ipswich, which sort of gave them hope for a few days. I mean, look, I don't know why he's gone now, to answer your first question. I think that there's probably some sort of when we are relegated, we can let you go without financial recompense sort of element to it. It looks like he's been sacked. There was some talk it was mutual as we got the breaking news in the morning. But it looks like he has been sacked, which kind of makes me feel like it's a financial thing. And was it hiding to nothing? Maybe. I mean, they were like 9 points adrift when he came in. He came in after being sacked by Roma in November, having been in charge of just 12 games. His reputation for what he did at Torino before that is now massively in the gutter. He didn't really bring much to Southampton. I think there was a couple of decent performances, but couldn't bring the results, and results are what was required. But look, broadly on this, I think that Southampton are going to struggle to get another point this season. They're going to likely finish on 10. If they don't get 10, they might get 11, which would equal Derby's record. I think 15 is then the next lowest after that. 25 losses in 31, same as Sunderland in 05, who were the second worst team ever at the time, worst team ever. And Sheffield United in 2020, who were the 4th or 5th worst team ever in the 32 years of Premier League football. And what they did wrong is what a lot of teams are going to do wrong. Do you have money? If you have money, then what you need to do is invest heavily, Nottingham Forest style, like nutters, and buy everyone and everything and try and build a gargantuan squad and see where the chips fall, and maybe take a financial punishment down the line. Sack your manager, sack everyone, be desperate from day one. And if you do that, there's every chance of staying up. And the other thing to do is do what they've done. Keep the manager, keep the majority of the players, feel like you're a good team and find a way to get through it. And you can sort of do that if there is a team that have stayed up in the previous year. That gives you at least one to aim for. Everton for a few years. There's a few teams you can sort of look at the points number, which has gone down and down and down from 40 to 34. It's about 32 now. You're going to stay up this year if you've got 25 points. I think Ipswich aren't going to get another 5 from where they are. Leicester are going to go and Saints have already gone. So I think what I would like to see from at least one of the 3 that come up this year is sack the manager, sack all the players, cancel all their contracts, as many as you can, and build a Premier League team. You need to build a Premier League team of 14 players, get a Premier League manager in, maybe a survival specialist, maybe a Hodgson Allardyce type, and you've got to be like, right, from day one, it's a relegation battle. Don't around, sorry, Tim, like Russell Martin doing the philosophy thing and Vincent Kompany the previous year and Kieran McKenna this year. There is no philosophy down the bottom of the Premier League. Philosophy is a luxury subject, and that is not something that teams down the bottom of the Premier League should be studying, okay? Some of the goals that Southampton conceded in those first weeks of this season were a joke, like truly historic jokes, and they kept on doing it. And we're in this era of like Guardiola ball where players are all like robots now and they just sort of do what they're told to do. If there was a Neil Ruddock from the 90s or even a Tony Adams, Steve Bold or whatever, Paul Parker, our mate, Paul would have gone, actually, don't fucking pass me that ball. Sorry, Tim. That's what he would have said. He'd be like, I'm knocking this down the line to someone down the line. And if the manager hooks him, he hooks him. But I'll tell you what, they wouldn't have conceded some of the diabolical goals that they conceded. It needed individual defenders to have the personality. It needed a manager who understood the task handed to him. They had neither. And also they signed Aaron Ramsdale, who I'm fairly sure was buried in a pet cemetery and dug up again to sign for Southampton. I don't know. He's an incredibly unlucky person. Can you say maybe beat that out? But like, that's another one, right? It's just, he is cursed. No one can sign him. He must just stay in the Championship now just to not get relegated. He'd probably end up going down from that somehow. So you bought a cursed goalkeeper and you went philosophy first, sense second. Here we are.
Aaron Ramsdale should just travel the country doing goalie wars, because if you remember at MLS All-Star Game a few years ago, my man loves goalie wars. So just go around to different training grounds, do some social videos, start your career that way. I think it'd be great. Speaking of disaster, we talked about Southampton and Aaron Ramsdale. Somebody who has been, I would say, a disaster for West Ham, you'll never guess, is the striker they signed, Niclas Fullkrug. But Tom, we talked pre-show, you wanted to have a little bit of a redemption tour for Niclas Fullkrug to kind of wrap us up today.
Yeah, last bit today before I'm away for the week. Dunny's here. Next week is Niclas Fullkrug would have been good. And that's what annoyed me this weekend. He would have been good. It should have been me, right? Because, like, when he came in, this guy is such a slice above everyone else. He was literally in the Champions League final, Germany's number 9. He comes to a middling, mid-table sort of team, and he would have been a decent striker for West Ham. He comes in, he's not fit from the Euro, so he doesn't play the first few games of the season. He gets injured, I think, on the first international break, and missed like 3 months. It was meant to be a couple of weeks. He missed 3 months. He then comes in for Graham Potter's first game in charge at Aston Villa, and he's bloody brilliant for 20 minutes. He's involved in the Paqueta goal. He links up well with Somerville, and you're a bit like, oh, yeah, that's what's been missing. Like a striker, a forward, someone who can hold the ball up, like what Antonio did for like 7 years at West Ham.
Who knew?
And suddenly he's gone, and they've got Danny Ings, who I just cannot believe he's still getting paid to be a professional footballer. So he's there, and after 20 minutes, he tried a sprint, and he blew out his hamstring and missed 4 months. He'd only been back like 4 games, and he'd scored 2 goals and looked quite good. He looks old, a little bit slow, but like physically, an absolute beast. Comes on in this game against Bournemouth at the weekend where they're playing pretty useless because, again, there was no presence up front. There's no presence with Bowen, Kudus, and Paqueta. They're good players, but they don't have presence. You need presence to get up the field against decent defenders. And he comes on, and there was just a feel of like, sod it, I can do this. And he's battering Howson. He's 15 years on Howson, like 20 and 33 or 12 years, whatever. He's battering into him. Shoulders, elbows, pulling Senesi down, headbutting this player. Like, wow. Like, what a physical presence this guy could be for half an hour in every single game.
Yeah.
And then he gets him up the field, and then they have a corner, and James Ward-Prowse is back because that moron let him go in August. He comes back with an amazing delivery. And there was a great line from Alan Shearer in Analysis, quite great Premier League striker, of course. And he said, when Fullkrug's running in to head that ball, the best thing Bournemouth defenders can do is just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Goalkeeper, get out of the way. Defenders, get out of the way. If you get in the way of this, you may be seriously injured. It was like a freight train coming in. It's an amazing header. He celebrated it wildly. Look, he ain't going to stay and probably shouldn't stay because you can't have a position that necessary in a squad of like 14 players who've got to be fit for you to have a good season.
Right.
You can't have that guy. But if he could have been fit, you can see it. He's so much better than Evan Ferguson. Whatever's happened to him, I don't know. Like you know, when you see, it was like a 15-year-old playing with the 9-year-olds, right? Just you could see he was bigger, stronger, better than everybody else. And it's a massive shame that he's not going to last with the season. But anyone who went to the game at the weekend at the bowl of disappointment did get their Fullkrug moment. So, you know, makes it all worth it, I guess. Right, that'll do for this week. Tim, thank you for stepping in for Brian Dunseth this week. Lovely to chat to you and get a bit of Liverpool misery from you as well. That always cheers me. So I'm off next week. All being well, it'll be Dunny and Tim next week. And then we will have a Week in the Tackle with me and Dunny in a couple of weeks' time with, 5 weeks to go until the season comes to an end. That's been Tim Horsey over there, who co-hosted and produced the programme. I've been Tom Rennie. Brian Dunseth didn't turn up. See you next week.